My name is Hello everyone. My name is Jonas. This is my podcast. Today I will read book Think and Grow Rich chapter 24 part 1. The Sixth Sense. The door to s- the door to the temple of wisdom. The 13th step toward riches. The 13th principle is the sixth sense, through which the infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily, without any effort from demons be the individual. This principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only be the forces mastering the other 12 principles. The sixth sense is the that portion of the subconscious mind which was being referred to the as creative imagination. It was also be refined to as receiving set, through which ideas, plans, and the fruits flashes enters the mind. The flashes are sometimes called hunches or inspirations. The sixth sense is that a proportion of the subconscious. The sixth sense defines descriptions. It cannot be described a person who was not mastering the author's principles, the philosophy, because such person was knowledge and no experience with the wish. The sixth sense can only be meditation for mind development from which the sixth sense probability is the medium contract between infinite mind of the man and the infinite intelligence, and is the relations of the mixture above both the material and the spiritual is the belief the point with the mind of contraction, the universal mind. After you mastered it, the principle described this book, you will prepare to accept the fruit and testament which may other size be incredible you mainly. Through the aiding of the sixth sense, you will be wanted implying dangers in time to avoid the ten, the notifying of the opportunities in time to embrace them. There comes you hiding and to do your bringing with the development of the sixth sense, a guardian angel, who you open to all the times the doctor, the temple of the wisdom. There or not his, the statement unfurled to you will never know. The accepted be following the introduction described in the pages of this book, or the similar method of the prodigy. The author is not believing in your advocacy of miracles, for the reason that is the enough knowledge of nature to understand that nature never devises from the stability lies. Some of her lies are the incompatibility, the prodigy that appears to be miracles. The sixth sense comes near being miracle is anything I have to not understand the method by which this principle of the operant. This the multi actor do as you know. That we is the power on first cause. Your intelligence, which permanent every atom of matter, underbrights every unity energy perceptible to man that is infinite intelligence converging core into occult this cases water flow Dawn will response delay your gravity follows ne- night with day and the winter. With summer, which maintaining in a problem place and the relationship the author. This intelligence may through the principles of the philosophy be induces to a transmutates desire into contract your material from. The author was acknowledged because with this experience with the was experienced it step by step through the preceding chapters you have been led through the last principle. If you have mastered with the prince and the principles, you are now prepared to accept without being critical and stupendous and claims made anywhere. If you have not mastered the other principles, you must do so before you may determine definitely whether your the client's made is the chapter or defect or friction. While he was passing through the age of heroship, I found myself trying to imitate control who I most admired. Moreover, I discovered that the element of faith with which the endeavor to intimate to widows gave gave me the capability to do awesome quite unsuccessfully. I have never tried to decide myself as the empty hero worship. Although although I haven't passed the age commonly given over such. My experience was taught that the next best thing to begin trolling great to emulate the greated be feeling in action is a nearly possibility. Long before had ever written a line for publication for endeavored to deliver a speech in public. I followed the habit of respying in my character and trying to mediate the 9 men through the livings and the life works had been most impressive to me. There's 9 men were Emerson, Pine, Edison, Darwin, Lincoln, Booker, Napoleon, Ford, and the Carnegie. Every night, over a long period of years, I held an imaginary calmly meeting with this group who I called my invisible controllers. The product was this. Just before going to sleep at night and showed my eyes. This is in my imagination. This group of men is seated with the around my cosy table, where I had not only opportunity to sit among those who I consider to be great at, but in actually dominating the group, be serving the chairman. I had the very definitive purpose in doing my imagination through their imaginary meanings. My proposal was rebuilding in the one character so word representing composite the character imaginary consolarios. Realism I did early in life is the head to overcoming and decline to bird to bird to burden in everyone and ignorant suspension the indeliberate assignment and himself tax voluntary rebirth through the method were described. Building character through auto-suggestion. By earning student psychology I knew, and the course that you have become that everywhere because they're dominating their thoughts and desires. I knew that every deep says that desire was effective causing to seek outrun the present for which that desire may be transmutation to reality. I know that auto-suggestion is powerful factor in building character that is the fact in solo principle fraud which character is built with the knowledge of the principal's mind operation. It was fairly well armed with the equipment needed to rebuild my character and taste imaginary control mailings and calling my cabinet members for knowledge wished with the contribution addressing myself to Earth member inaudibly words as follow. Mr. Emerson, I decided I quite to from you marvels understand of nature which designate your life. I ask that you make the impression upon subconscious mind in whatever qualities you possess, which enable you understand is adapted to yourself lays of nature. I ask that you assist in the ration and the drowning you upon whatever soldiers I knowledge are available with this the end. Mr. Boberg was requiring your past the knowledge which enable to harmonize the lays of nature that you causing quite in the action from become every food. Gave the access knowledge which they enable you make two blades and the grass grow where but you gray before and they help you blend current of the flowers which the more splendor and the harmony. For you alone having successfully gilded the lily. Napoleon had desired acquired from you both emulation marvelous ability you possess the experienced man and they are on the greater the more determination spirit of action. Also acquiring the spirit of endurance and faith, which they enable you to define the victory and strong strategy obstacles in perfect king of chains, the man of the side, is solitude. Mr. Pine, I decided to acquire from the freedom and front, courage and the credit with which this present continues with designate you. Mr. Darwin, I wish to acquire and for the marvelous passion and the ability to student case and effectively fault bias and the prejudice to exemplify you of natural silence. Mr. Lincoln, I decided the building intro and the character of sense just and the entry spirit of patience, the sense of humor, the human understand of the tolerance and the wish you distinguishing the character. Mr. Carnager, I am already enrolled in you my choice of in life and work with both the great happiness and the peace of mind. I wish to acquire the fruit, understand the principles, and understand the effort in using effectively building of great and industrial enterprise. Mr. Ford, you haven't been among the most helpful of the day of the men who have supplied the wash, the material essential for my work. I wish to acquire in our spirit of the persistence and the determination and the possessing the self-constance and the wish to have an enable in your master problem organization unity and the simplify human effort made in helping others to follow in your footsteps. Mr. Radson, I have stated you nearless and may right because in the personal cooperation I have given during my research into case of the success and the failure. I wish to acquire the from the marvelous spirit of faith, which with which you have uncovered the main of natural secrets, the spirit of remaining into you wish you have often is trying victory from the fact. My method of endorsing members of the imagination cabinet in you very very according to the trying character in which was the moment most interest to acquire. The student that requires the life painstaking care. After more months, thus the nearly process, I was astounded by the discovery that this imagination figure became a part real, which the nine men developing individual characters with the precise price for me. For example, Lincoln developed the ability always being late, and he was walking around the solemn parade when it came we out at every slow wish in the hands clasped being and was unwilling he would stop and pause it, and there is one momentary upon shoulders, I always the more expression serious upon his face. Red it is see when smile. The cards off soon that the nation made his gave. That was not true on others. But among the pine of the Nugent and the within Heparin wishing the same at the times shocked offered members in the cabinet. One night pain suggested a part the lecture and the age of reason, and the deliver from the Puritan church which the formulation attended many around the table along the Alton suggestion. Not Napoleon. Within emotion down, the corners already grounded, so lady unturned and it was pain of the state to reform, but the sound and combination inquired the mass activity by people. None the class in Burbank there was late. When the camp was exceeded with enthusiasm and explained they had been late because of the experiment was making through the which hoped to be able grow apes on a short tree. Pine shielded when the remind is that it was April in which started the out trouble between man and woman. Darwin shook head in the wind the suggestion pine and showed him what the four little serpents. When I went intro the forest gator apples, when the abbey in the grove and intro big snakes, Emerson observed no serpents, no apples, and Napoleon remarked no apples, no state. Lincoln developed the habit for awaiting baking the last anyone leaving the table after which milling on one occasion learned it cross under the of the table. As it folded and remained the position for many minutes. I made no attempt to disturb it when the final lifted and it was hidden slowly, got up and walked to the door and turned around. They came back to laid in hand on my shoulder and said, my boy, I will need encourage to remember this fast and carrying your purpose in your life. But remember, when difficulty overtaken you, the common people have and the common sense, adversity will develop. On evening Edson arrived, all had the orders. They walked on over himself and left. Emerson accused the seat and said, you're destined to witness the discovery of the sacred life. When your time comes, we observe the concession and great instead energy, and in times with intelligent human beings thinking in themselves to be. Tis in unity life the group of together, disliking hives the being, and they remain together into designate flow like the harmony. This unity having difficult, my opinion, is the same as human beings in after fight among themselves. These meanings which you condition will be ever helping for you and to bringing your resolutes and the same units serving the members your cabinet and the touring themselves. The unit is eternal, they never die. They never die. Your now from the desires and serve magnet which the attraction in life integrate ocean and life out there. The only on the friendly units attracted the honest which the harmonies with the nature of desires. The other members of the cabinet began to enter the room. Edson and got to slowly walked around the seat Edson was leaving when it happened. Interests, grand experience, and similarly broadly and say your dream in the reality, then you may imagine it and be aware in the further explanation this statement. These meetings become and realistic and become faithful concessions and the disconnection then several months the experiences in can afraid in unity and you lose singing effective meetings their police experience of imagination. Some 6 months after had the disconnection the practice I walked in on night and Frodo was while Lincoln sat saying beside this the worthy will some need the service about the undergo period of chaos in which we case and the woman lose faith and become panic stricken and go ahead with your work and complete your philosophy that in your mission in life. If you neglect, if you any case in whatsoever, you will reduce in the primal state and be a complement to restride the cycles through which you have passed durant thousands of years. It was unable to tell the following morning whatever that Drummond Wills actually been awake and have never since found and which was building no that the dream. If it were the dream as building no dream and it was vivid in mind the next days and the resume my melodies for the following night. That June, the next meeting of members' cabinet all filled into the room together and the stole and the accumulating pieces of the common two table while Lincoln rested in the glass and said, Gentlemen, it is us drink and towards a free friend you was returning the fold. After that, I began add new members to my cabinet. Intro consists more in the 50 amongst their Christ, St. Paul, Galileo, Copernicus, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, Homer, Froder, Bruno, Spinoza, Drummond, Kant, Schopenhauer, Newton, Confucius, Albert Brown, and Wilson, and William James. This is the first time that I have and had the courage mention, and therefore I have remained quit this subjective become agnew from achievement connection with social matters know in my study inside my own to experience. I have been abolished no reducing my experiences in splendid because I know less concrete about that stay say than I than was in the years that have passed one and the blessing maturity is it sometimes brings off greater courage and be forthful truthful regard to that those who do not understand may think you're say. Let's be Minnesota wish their state most implical in the great cabinet meetings and a big important imagination but intent suggestion while members in cabinet may be probably in friction the meetings extent only my own imagination and have led me into a glorious path and the adventure recognized and the appreciation the truth great test and encourage the creative endeavor and the implement the inspiration honest thought unit throat. Somewhere is the cell-structured brain and the located organ which decides vibration and for ordinary clouded hunters. It's on silence was discovered when the organ decides six signs and the locate but really important. The fact to him the woman begins to receive recurrent knowledge in a further source to alter in a physical sense. Such knowledge generally received in the mind under the influence extraordinary simulation, and the emergence which aroused the emotional cases of the heartbeat and the most 16 sense action anymore was experience activity and the driven nose and the sort occasions six sense and after comes to honor rescue and the 8 splice in seconds and avoiding the accident. This fact is mentioned preliminary and element fact in a know in a making namely that during my meetings with the invisible considerers, I find my mind and the most receiving ideas froze and acknowledge which reason from sixth sense. I can truly and say you come enter my invisible considerers full credit for ideas, facts and knowledge was a cyber froze inspiration. Run scores of occasion when I haven't faced an emergency some then gave grave that my life was jeopard, and I have been miraculously guided past and difficult from the influence of my invisible concealers. My original proposal encouraging coding milling with imaginaries begin slowly of impressing on subconscious minds through the principle of the auto-suggestion with the certain sources characteristic which they desire to acquire. In the most recent years, my experience was taken in acquiring with the every difficult problems with comfort and my clients and the results often are strong in flow and dependent in trying in the front causal. If of course I have recognized that chapter conversation subjective with which the majority of people were not familiar. The sixth sense was subjective of real great test and the test beneficent perform tools and to accumulate in a vast outlet but is not claiming the attention for throws to desires the models. In Ford, Androbo understand making the practical use the sixth sense with the business and the financial operations that make necessary for him to understand using the principle of the late Thomas Edison understood that use the sixth sense connection with developments in inventions, especially the frozen base patterns and the connection which they had human experience in case of while they work on talking and machining, they involved in the picture machining. Nearly all leaders with Napoleon, Bismarck, Joan Arc, Chris, Buddha, Confucius and Muhammad understood the probability, the made of use the sixth sense almost conscious, and the major opportunity the great test, and the consistent the work, the knowledge of the principle. The sixth sense are not something you can take upon. The ability to use great power to come slowly, and for application, the other principles, the outlined is the book. Sheldon do is the individuals comes workable knowledge from the sixth sense before the 14. More often, knowledge available in which you went past 50 and the reason spiritual force which the sixth sense closely elaborate as magnitude and become used the example throughout years meditation, self-examination and the serious thought. No matter who you are, you that may be in your proposer reading this book You can profit be able to understand the principle described in the character chapter. This speciality through your major proposal in accumulation money in other material things. The chapter and the sixth sense was included B case of the book designed from the purpose on the pursuing compact philosophy which the individuals may underling guiding themselves that never end a task of your life. The starting point, our achievement is design. They finish the point that branding of knowledge which leads and understand of the self to understand the orders, understand of the lays of natural recognition, understand of the happenings. This is start to understand the commons in the fullest only from familiarity with the use the principle of sixth sense. In a way, principle had to include the part the philosophy, the benefits just the demand more than money. Having the read that the chapter that must be observed while reading the lifting with level mental simulation splendid common this again and must know. Already in the more that observing your mind and those higher level stimulation. Repeat the presence from the time to time to give in concrete how much, how little learn the time and eventually enable and the throw and the discoverment and the master fear and the overcome procrastination and the draw feeling upon something wish being and the moving spiritual every trolley and the day in literature artist music and writing and statements when you be disposition transmutation has desire into the physical financial and their part and easily you made down and the quiet this first singing the position previous chapters and have described who developed faith and the throw out suggestion decided the subconscious mind. The next chapter presents the detail and destruction the master of fear. There you find the full description the six fears in which the case on disagreement and terminal procrastination evidence decisions indecision and the lack of ambition, real self-reliance, inactivity, self-control, and enthusiasm. Searching yourself careful, you stood in the six enemies, and it was the exist only your subconscious mind there in the present you hard to detect it. Remember too, as it was analyzing the six ghosts of fear. The six ghosts of fear that day and nothing but froze because they exist only on one's mind. Remember also that ghost creations, the ghost creation and the carnal imagination and they haven't caused most the man's peoples have done there in one minds therefore they walk in the early physical bodies. The ghost of the fear is property which the resized mind millions peoples in 1929 also that causing the worst in business depressions and the country was never known. Moreover, this the particular ghost and the friend testing the sum was if your wits. Alright, today this is the chapter. Thank you for listening. Let's go in next podcast. Alright, thank you for listening.